Thank you for being here today. My name is Olivia. I'm on the board of directors of the Historical Society of Long Beach, and I have the pleasure today of being MC for Cora Morgan. Cora's going to mention someone in her story that I want to tell you a little bit about. Cora is going to mention Myrtle Gunzel. Myrtle Gunzel was Long Beach City Auditor. She was elected in 1919. And then she was elected 10 more times. She was elected for a total of 11 times. She always won in the primary. And she always got more votes in each one of her elections than all of her opponents put together. Extraordinary. Myrtle Gunzel was citywide elected official at a time of great growth and change for the city of Long Beach. The oil was discovered during her time, the Great Depression, the 1933 earthquake, when there was tremendous destruction in the city, followed by tremendous construction in the city. The Port of Long Beach was founded, CSULB, Long Beach City College. When Myrtle was first elected, the population was about 65,000 people. And at the end, when she finally retired in 1951, the population was over 250,000 people. You'll hear Myrtle mentioned in Cora's story. I want to tell you about our wonderful actor, Grace O'Neill. Grace is a professional actor, and she performs all over Southern California in community theater. She's also a marathon runner, and tomorrow she's going to run a half marathon in Los Angeles. I hope you enjoy the story of Cora Morgan and Myrtle Gunzel, and please welcome Cora Morgan.
Hello, I'm Cora Morgan. Some people called me a troublemaker. Others said I was smart. But I'll tell you this, I was a woman ahead of my time. I was born Cora May Thayer in 1879 in Iowa. By the time I was 18, I was living in Long Beach and married to Joseph Morgan. We had 3 children, Eva, Harry, and Bernard. Joseph worked as a janitor at the Daisy Avenue School. His health wasn't the best, so in 1907, I got a job as a stenographer. That's a word we don't hear much anymore. Stenographers used shorthand to record what someone was saying and then created a document on the typewriter. Businesses that only needed these services occasionally would hire public stenographers. At first I worked out of my home, but eventually I was doing enough business that I had my own office in a Pine Avenue high-rise. I was a member of many local lodges and worked as a paid staff member, keeping track of the dues and managing the lodge buildings. It was a great way to get customers for my stenography business. In 1911, W.D. Kaysen came to my office to have some work done. While he was there, he got fresh with me. I told him I wasn't interested and sent him on his way. Since then, he went out of his way to cause trouble. I was a clerk at a local lodge, and Mr. Kaysen showed up and accused me of defaming him. I left the meeting. I heard nothing more about it until the next meeting, when I had been told that I had been expelled from the organization. I refused to leave. The police were called and I was taken to the station and released. I returned to the lodge, and soon after the police showed up with a warrant for my arrest. The next day, the matter was seen before a judge in court. A representative from the lodge appeared and said that I was boisterous. Boisterous? Have you ever heard anything so ridiculous? Well, the case was dismissed. All this because I refused Mr. Kayson's unwanted advances in my office. Today I say, me too. The LA Times did a story on me and described me as a most estimable woman. It also mentioned that I was a public stenographer. It was excellent publicity for my business. In September of 1911, I helped form the Political Equality League. Fanny Bixby was the president and I was the secretary. Our goal was to convince the men in Long Beach to support the state constitution amendment to give women the right to vote. We held a giant rally and 1,600 people showed up to listen to the mayor and other speakers urge men to let women in California vote. We recruited organizers in each of the city's precincts. Their job was to ensure that our supporters showed up to the polls to vote. We were successful. Each of the city's 18 precincts voted to let women vote in all future elections. With the help of many other cities, the amendment to the state's constitution was passed. The next day, I went to register to vote, but Charlotte Carlin was in line ahead of me. Still, I was the second woman in Long Beach to register to vote. In 1912, Joseph died. He suffered from epilepsy and was in a state hospital when he passed away. He was only 44 years old. But at 37, I was a widow with 3 children. But widowhood did not take the fight out of me, not one bit. I sued a pastor for non-payment of my bill for $52.50 for transcribing sermons. I won and was awarded my fees, interest, and court costs. Women's suffrage wasn't the only cause I championed. There were many in Long Beach who felt it was time for a radical change in city government. They wanted the heads of city departments to be elected, not appointed. They felt that elected officials would be held more accountable to voters. I worked on the campaign, and we were successful. There would now be 5 commissioners to run the city. Some people considered me the 6th commissioner because I helped assemble the city charter. There were some men who didn't like a woman like me having so much power. They didn't appreciate my outspokenness. I was quite vocal about the city's discrimination against women. I told one commissioner that he knew the women who worked for him in his office were the brains of the operation. In the midst of the turmoil from my work for Commissioner Gates, a furniture store took me to court for $105 they claimed I owed them. In court, their attorney, Mr. Titchener, didn't ask about the furniture. He asked about my work for Commissioner Gates. Did they think that I didn't realize that this was just a ruse to publicly disparage me? Well, I wasn't going to make it easy on them. When asked what compensation I was receiving for my work, I responded, gratification. They called Commissioner Gates to the stand and grilled him. The furniture was the only thing they didn't seem interested in talking about. In January, I resigned from the Commission Advisory Board and threatened to sue them for $300 back pay. I had worked for years as a professional stenographer and campaign manager. I had in my possession the political secrets of nearly every major player in the city, in the county for that matter. I was a formidable foe. One paper summed up the dispute as saying, "Matters are at such a state in the beach city that a little bit more rocking by the pretty widow would cause the entire city boat to capsize." I took that as a compliment. The eventual solution was to hire my daughter as Commissioner Gates' secretary and my son as the city gardener. In 1921, the city decided to switch to an elected city council with a city manager to carry out their decisions. This system proved to be much more long-lasting as it's the one that's still in place today. I didn't win all of my battles. I opposed the bonds that paid for the building of the Port of Long Beach. If you go listen to Captain De Ruiz in Sunnyside, He'll tell you that he put forth a better argument than I did. I hope he doesn't gloat. You see, I opened the door for women in Long Beach. And in 1919, Myrtle Gunsel walked through it when she was elected city auditor. And then she tried to prevent the city from paying my bill. Can you believe that? I only wish that I had lived long enough to work on the campaigns for women like Beverly O'Neill and Renee Simon and Doris Topsy-Elverd and Betty Cornett. But in 1940, I joined Joseph here in the cemetery. And in 1976, our daughter Eva joined us. Thank you for coming to hear my story. I hope that I've inspired you to fight for your rights and to never, never, never give up. And thank you for supporting the Historical Society of Long Beach.